Buongiorno, benvenuti alla conferenza stampa del nostro film in concorso Priscilla. Prima di cominciare presento i nostri ospiti al tavolo e alcune persone sedute qua nella prima fila. Allora, al tavolo, a partire dalla destra in fondo, è Uri Henley, un produttore. Lorenzo Mieli di Apartment Pictures. Cailee Spaeny, la protagonista del film. La sceneggiatrice e regista Sofia Coppola. E il protagonista Jacob Elordi. Seduti qua in prima fila abbiamo anche Massimiliano Orfei di Vision Distribution, Andrea Scrosanti della Continental Europe Fremantle, Chris Hatcher, produttore esecutivo del film, il direttore della filosofia Philippe Leseur e Priscilla Presley. So before handing, look how many hands. I'm going to break it asking a question to Sofia, which is the obvious one. What did about Priscilla's story and capture your imagination?
Yeah, when I read Priscilla's story, I was so struck with how the setting is so unusual, but she goes through all of the things that all girls go through growing up into womanhood, and she talks with detail and openness about her experience and her first kiss and becoming a mother and all these moments in one's life that I could relate to and I thought were universal, but in this very unusual setting that we're so curious to know. She's Elvis and Priscilla are this legendary couple, but we don't know that much about her and her point of view.
There's a question here.
Hi, Stephen Schaefer for the Boston Herald. Congratulations. Just an amazing film, Sophia. I wanted to ask this, it always seemed like this was a great romance, a fairy tale kind of essential for the Elvis legend. And this movie sort of deconstructs it into emotional abuse, physically threatening. It's like the darkest picture I think we've ever seen of Elvis Presley as this woman emerges finally with her own voice to say, I'm walking out of here. Do you see it as a feminist tale specifically? And was that what you think is sort of surprising about Priscilla and Elvis?
No, to me, it's a human story, and Priscilla really sheds light on the ups and downs of a relationship and shows other sides to it, and it's and really her evolution as a girl into this world, and then finding her and then leaving to find her own point of view. So I really looked to Priscilla to tell her story as she expressed it, and I really wanted to show both sides, like in any the reality of the romance and the illusion, and then as she grew up, her coming out into her own.
Cailee, do you want to follow up on that and talk a little bit about how your character grows up in the film? We meet your character when she's incredibly young, and then in a relatively short amount of time, she becomes a woman. Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, I thought it was really important to see the story from beginning to her ending up leaving the relationship. And what?
Closer to the mic.
Closer. Sorry, never done this before. Thank you. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well, you were saying that it was important for a revolution.
Yeah, like Sophia was saying, it was important to see all those milestones that I think all of us women can relate to, from her being a young girl to, finding her voice and her autonomy. And I think Sophia did that really well.
There's a question here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alessandra De Tomasi from Earth Magazine Italy. My question is to Mr. Elordi. I would like to ask you, how do you relate to the idea, the concept that Elvis has, especially at the end of the movie, about love? He says, maybe in another time, maybe in another world. I mean, do you believe that actually love sometimes is not enough? There are bigger circumstances, that forces that throw people apart. I would like to ask you, how did you relate with that, with this idea of love? Thank you.
You really said that.
It's a big one. Well, my sort of main source material was Priscilla's book, and that was this kind of direct quote from the book. And in terms of personally, I'm not sure, but I think the most impressive thing to me about the story is the scale of this love and the power of this love, and the fact that to this day, even though he's not here, when you see Priscilla, when you talk to her, you can still feel the love. It's true, and it's undying, and that to me is just beautiful. So I think, you know, when he says another time, maybe another place, yeah, I absolutely believe in that. I don't think it has to be physically in front of you. I think it's this tether that ties, you know, two people together, and I think that's for eternity, you know.
Hi, Scott Orland with Cinema. Sophia, it's really fascinating, and I'd love to know about your conversations with Priscilla, because when the movie first starts, there's an uncomfortability that there's a 14-year-old girl and this older guy. I mean, yes, he's Elvis Presley, but still, you know, how she was being seduced, as somebody mentioned earlier, into this other life that kind of came as a woman, as a mother yourself. Talk a little bit about how you navigate that for an audience. So you're telling the true story, but you have to make it accessible for a modern audience, not to be bizarrely turned off.
Yeah, I really tried to stay in Priscilla's point of view, and one of the things that was great about her book is it really puts you in her shoes, and you're seeing the world from her point of view, and I can go back to being that age and remembering a crush on a older guy and a rock star, and so I just imagined myself really in her story, and I really tried to make the film from her point of view so that you could go along on the journey with her and experience her story along with her. And that's what I love about films, is being able to experience someone else's story that's so different from your own.
Can you talk a little bit about how do you build that point of view from an aesthetic standpoint? You know, the space, the color, the use of the house, the costume.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the fun of making the visual interpretation of that, and working with Philippe on the always thinking about the point of view of the camera, of how we're shooting it, and the palette, and the Germany had a much different palette than when she comes to Graceland, and the colors are more vivid, and she goes to Las Vegas, and the sound when Elvis is around is more full, and so using all of these to kind of create her experience as best we could.
There's a question there.
Thank you. Hi, it's Ben Dalton from Screen International. Congratulations to you all on the film. This is a question for Sofia Coppola. It's wonderful that you're able to be here to celebrate the film. I was just interested to know, what are your thoughts on the ongoing strikes, the WGA and SAG strikes in the US, and if you'd have any message for the AMPTP?
Yeah, I'm here as a director and a producer to support independent film and my crew, and I'm totally behind the union's hard work to fight to be for fair compensation, and I hope it's resolved soon, because there's so many people that we all want to get back to work.
Here.
Messo Mazzetto, L'altra pagina. I'd like to ask about the music, the soundtrack. How do you work, and how do you choose the right sounds to put into the movie? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I always loved that part in the editing room, and I was happy to work with my husband's band, Phoenix, and Sons of Raphael, who are here. Do you want to say hi? Yeah. And it was so, I mean, that's such a big part to help you, bring you into that era, and to find the music of that time, to feel like, and we did a mixture of some more contemporary things, but I really wanted to feel like we're in Priscilla's world and feeling what she's feeling, and also bringing back to that era of 60s American. And it was the first time I really dove into that music.
There.
Hi, I'm Federico from Bocconi TV, and first of all, Miss Coppola, a huge fan of your work. I wanted to ask, since the relationship between Elvis Presley and Priscilla was so much thrust into the public eye, and you also have the source from Mrs. Priscilla herself, is there, however, something new that you found out about the relationship, or in your conversation with Mrs. Priscilla, is there something that sparked right when you were doing the film?
Yeah, just being able to speak to Priscilla was added so much to this experience of making the film, and just details that she would tell me, which I love the details that make you feel like you're there. And she described the scene when they're in the movie theater in Germany, and Elvis was saying the lines along. And that wasn't in the book, it was something that she told me, and I thought, I loved that moment where you see that they were really sharing something and he was revealing something, and also knowing that he wanted to be a serious actor, and that was a great dream, and to understand his frustrations with his career. So talking to Priscilla added so much, I think, and helped me so much.
I'd like to follow up with a question to both Cailee and Jacob. These are not minor roles. These are gigantic, iconic, two gigantic, iconic people. You are so young. How daunting was it? And how did you immerse yourself in the character?
Well, it was very daunting, but I got very lucky to have some time with Priscilla, and she was very generous with her time, and she was very kind to me and supportive. And I think if I didn't have that, I would have had a much harder time. But that was my main source, and obviously the book. But I got really lucky that the person I was playing was also very supportive.
Jacob?
I think the whole kind of the prospect of facing it was just this kind of huge mountain, and it really was just put the blinders on and just go all out, because there was really no space to go to not do that. And I think having Soph and Cailee, it was just it was honestly a treat. It wasn't too stressful. Yeah.
There's a question there.
Deutsche Welle and W Radio, and my question is for Miss Sofia Coppola. And could you please tell me how was working close to Priscilla Presley, for how long, and what did she say after she saw the film? Thank you.
Yeah, I felt so lucky to be able to speak with Priscilla and ask questions, and so throughout the process, I would just keep questions for her, and she was so gracious and open to helping answer as much as she could, and just to have all the details as close to being as accurate as we could. And I was so nervous to show her the film for the first time, and we watched it, and she said, "That was my life. You did your homework," and I was relieved, because it was very important to me that she be happy with it, while at the same time I'm trying to imagine the story in my head. So that was a challenge for me, and really important to me that she felt her story was respected.
Is that there?
This question is for Mr. Elordi. Congratulations. I just want to ask you, how did you approach the role of Elvis? Not so long ago, there was the Elvis of Baz Luhrmann. Did it influence you?
No, I was just, again, I was really, really lucky to be working with Sofia, who kind of put my fears at ease immediately. And yeah, there's no real space to be daunted or afraid. It's one of those things you hear, I think, from actors all the time, that you want a challenge, and this certainly was it.
Signora?
Buongiorno, volevo sapere se è possibile chiedere alla signora Priscilla Presley che cosa l'ha commossa di più di questo film? In che cosa ha ritrovato più la sua storia? Grazie.
Ma la signora Presley non è parte del panel. So, unless,
question for Priscilla.
yes, I've got a question for Priscilla. So unless she wants to, I'm happy to hand the mic to Priscilla.
Do you want to answer that, or?
The question,
Oh, yeah, it doesn't have that.
the question is, how did you feel about having your life represented?
It's all totally up to you. I don't want to pull you up unless you feel comfortable. Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you.
No, can you speak English on that? What do you? I don't know what they say.
Se mi ripete la domanda velocemente, signora?
Allora, la domanda: cosa l'ha commossa di più del film e in che cosa si è ritrovata di più in questa storia?
What moved you the most about the film, and what did you identify the most in it?
The ending. It's difficult, very difficult to sit and watch a film about you and about your life and about your love. And sorry. I think Sofia did an amazing job. She did her homework. We spoke a couple of times, and I really put everything out for her that I could. The ending, excuse me, for the gentleman who actually was a little bit, not a little bit, but before you, you talked about, it was very difficult for my parents to, thank you, very difficult for my parents to understand that Elvis would be so interested in me and why. And I really do think, because I was more of a listener, Elvis would pour his heart out to me in every way in Germany, his fears, his hopes, the loss of his mother, which he never, ever got over. And I was the person who really sat there to listen and to comfort him. That was really our connection. Even though I was 14, I was actually a little bit older in life, not in numbers. And that was the attraction. And, people think, oh, it was sex, it was this. Not at all. I never had sex with him. He was very kind, very soft, very loving. But he also respected the fact I was only 14 years old. We were more in mind and thought. And that was our relationship. Yes, he called me when things weren't, when he came back to the States. That was also part of our relationship, telling me all his woes on what was happening and how upset he was on the screen with the director. And I don't know why he put so much trust in me, but he did. And I never, ever, ever told anyone that I was seeing him. And that was another issue that he loved, is the fact that I never gave him up in any way. I never told anyone at school that I was seeing him. So we built a relationship, and that relationship went on until, yes, I left. And it wasn't because I didn't love him. He was the love of my life. It was the lifestyle that was so difficult for me. And I think any woman can relate to that. But it didn't mar our relationship. We still remain very, very close. And of course, we had our daughter. And I made sure that, he saw her all the time. And it was like we never left each other. So I want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. would like to follow up with a question to Sofia. Young women have often been a subject of your films, and you seem to have a way. First of all, it's obviously an interest of yours, but you seem to have a way to empathize with them. You know, no matter if the age difference is growing. Now, you know, you're an established filmmaker, and so forth. How do you keep in such close empathy and sympathy with younger generation, and why young women and a coming of age is such a story that's so important for you?
Yeah, I don't know why I keep coming back to it, but hopefully I'll grow up soon. But I've always been interested in identity and how one finds that. I'm always curious about how people find themselves in situations and how they emerge and who they become. And so Priscilla's story was so rich about that, of her really opening up about how she found herself and being with someone with such a strong identity, and then emerged to find her own identity. That really struck me. And also the generation of my mother, and sort of the expectation on women of that generation to be completely fulfilled with having a successful husband, a beautiful home, and a child. And if they wanted some expression outside of that, it was a struggle, and it wasn't expected.
Question there.
Hi, I'm Lex from Film School Rejects. Congratulations, such a fabulous film. This question is for Sofia. Can you talk a little bit about the casting process with Jacob and Cailee, and how much Priscilla was involved, and what drew you to these particular people to play such iconic human beings?
Yeah, it was really daunting. I mean, the first thing was I really wanted one actress to play Priscilla, and she had to play from 14 to 29. And my great casting advisor, Fred Roos, and Brighton Daniels were such fans of Cailee's and said, you have to meet Cailee Spaeny. And then Kirsten Dunst had just worked with Cailee and told me how talented she thought she was. So we had a coffee, and Cailee has this baby face. You can believe that she can pass for 15. And she's just so thoughtful, and I knew that she would approach this with sensitivity, and so I was so happy to jump into this with her, and she really took a lot of care in preparing and working with Priscilla. And then the idea of Elvis is so daunting. Nobody looks like Elvis. He's such a big character, and it was really important to me to not have a caricature, that like who could have the essence. And when I met Jacob, I felt like he has that just that charisma and the feeling that I could feel that he could pull this off and be a teen heartthrob. But that had the sensitivity to show this other side of him. We weren't doing the performer, the outward. I knew he was vulnerable and sensitive from the way Priscilla described him. So it was important that I knew that Jacob could have that essence and show that side of him more in his vulnerable personal life. And then we just jumped in and it was challenging to especially to watch Cailee have to change ages. We were shooting out of order and to span so much time, and it was really impressive to see them and really they're really there for me.
I am very sorry, but they told me we run out of time, and so I want to thank. Sorry.
You.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for the film.
Thank you.